and something that people should start considering, which is tax loss harvesting.
Good point.
And that portfolio managers were looking at that towards the end of the year. But what we're doing with tax loss harvesting is we're selling off positions for a loss to offset these gains that we might have incurred. But really, all these asset classes are down right now.
Really down. I mean,
Big red.
It's unusual. Yeah, if you look at your statement, realized gains, loss, it's all red and in parentheses.
Yeah.
But it's unusual because usually when stocks are going down, bonds will go up.
Yep.
But with a rising interest rate environment, that's not the case. So everything's down. So way down. I agree with you. Look at the portfolio. Consider realizing some of those losses now. Here it is, 2022. We're in June. We're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
S&P's down 20%. Why would you realize them now? Well, if you're in the camp like us, we think we're due for a rebound here. So if we go ahead and realize them now rather than waiting because portfolio may go up, realize them now, then you've got those losses in your back pocket.
Yeah, and I think we also need to remember the wash sale rule. And if you're not familiar, the wash sale rule is when you sell a security and then buy the same security or something substantially similar within 30 days. That means you cannot write that off for a loss.
Good point, because if you sold XYZ stock for a loss today and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and realize I still like the stock, I think it's going to go up, I'm going to buy it, turn right around and buy it within 30 days, it negates that loss. Thus the term wash sale. So here's an idea. If you have, say you have mutual funds in the portfolio and therefore a loss, if you sold those and perhaps bought an ETF, that's not a similar security, going from active management to passive management. Same thing with stocks, selling a mutual fund for a stock, things like that. So that's an idea to consider to get out of that wash sale rule.
Yeah, and also this is only for non-retirement accounts because with
told them that.
With retirement accounts, they don't incur any capital gains when you're buying and selling within the portfolio.
You can buy and sell all day long in a retirement account as long as it stays inside that retirement account. You don't have to worry about capital gains. It's when you withdraw money from it. So that's a good point. You know what, Jack? This reminds me of 2020 because in 2020, the height of the pandemic, from February to March 23rd, the S&P dropped close to 40%, and people had a lot of losses on paper, in their non-retirement accounts. And what we were doing is, let's go ahead and tax loss harvest now because we think this thing's going to go back up. So we tax loss harvest then. We tried to avoid the wash sale rule as much as we can, and by year's end, the S&P 500 was actually worth more than it was on January 1st, and most of the portfolios were up. So they had a nice bowl of tax losses to write off.
And remember, well, you know this, but remember, you can only write off $3,000 a year for the tax year, but everything else will roll over to the next.
Yeah, they carry over. So if you had losses of $40,000, $50,000 that you realized, and you had no capital gains to offset, you can only write off $3,000. But what's left over is carried over future years, and that comes in handy if you're like us thinking things are going to rebound. When in future years, at some point, you are going to have a capital gains, and then that will help offset it. So anyway, I think this is a good point. I think it's something to consider. Check with your tax advisor to make sure it makes sense for your particular situation.
It's cute that you think you can